Hi, Alex here from Rebeloper.com and welcome back to another series inside the Christmas calendar tutorials. And in this video and the next one, I will be showing you the magic of TinyConstraints. So let's dive into it. Great. Now, if you already don't know what TinyConstraints is, go ahead and take a look at Robert Hines' GitHub repository and just scroll down below and it says TinyConstraint is a syntactic sugar that makes auto layout sweeter for human use. And that is exactly what it does. You can anchor your views with a few lines of code, and let me take a look at the example here. So you have to add the top anchor and so on, and you have to activate it, and it's all of these lines of code. Now with TinyConstraints you can do that with one single line of code, and of course you can go and scroll down below and take a look at all of the examples, but hey, you don't have to, because in these two videos I will be showing you with an example, a hands-on example on how to create a YouTube UI, the UI of the home page of the app on our iPhone. We are going to take a look at how to build out that with TinyConstraints. So let me just scroll all the way up, or maybe here, so you may see these wonderful GIF animations. Until then, I will just go ahead and take a screenshot of my home page of the YouTube app and send it over to my desktop. Here we go. Let's wait for airdrop. Tapped on it and it should appear right now. Okay, there we go. Let's open up our resources folder for this lesson, and then we just simply drag and drop it right here. Now let's take a look at what we are going to build out. First of all, we are not going to bother with the navigation controller or the tab bar controller. Let's make this a little smaller so you may see. We are not going to build those out. Instead, we are going to take a look at this header, and maybe in the next video we are going to build out this featured video and the starting of this list. Again, this will not be functional. This is going to be all about laying out these views. Okay, now we are going to need some let's say resources, and that is one cog, our in-app purchases thumbnail, a profile picture, and our so-called header image, or whatever you'd like that. This is an older version, so go ahead and download these resources again from the link down below. I have all of the resources for my YouTube tutorials if you go to that link. So without further ado, let's create an Xcode project. So here we go, and let's create a new project now. And I will use this Rebeloper single view app. If you don't already know, go ahead and check that video out on how to create your very own custom Xcode projects. Templates. Okay, let's click on next, and I will name this TinyConstraints YouTube UI. Great. Okay, we will name the root view controller to be home view controller, because that is what we are going to build out. Let's click on next, and let's see. Yeah, inside the code is okay. Let's create a Git repository in my Mac. That is fine, so you will be able to download the finished app from my GitHub repository. Okay, the link is in the resources. Great. Now, just a short talk of what this custom template does. It basically removes the main.storyboard, and if you are watching my channel, then you already know. And with this template, you don't have to bother removing the main.storyboard, because that is already removed. Great. let's go into our home view controller, and that here is where we are going to build this out. But first, let's install TinyConstraints. So let's open up terminal here. Let's make this a little, I have already installed it, but let's make this a little bit bigger so you may see, and let's cd into our project root folder here. So I just simply drag and drop it. There we go. And type in pod init. Great. The pod file has been created. There we go. And now let's open this in Xcode. And maybe let's, under preferences, select the little larger fonts here. Okay. Platform should be iOS 12. And the pod is TinyConstraints. Okay, let's close that off, and inside the terminal type in pod install. Okay, it has been installed, and let's just wait for that. And basically we are going to use our Xcode project from now on, this Xcode workspace. I'm sorry, not the project, but the workspace. So let's open that up. Let me resize this, and let's start using TinyConstraints. Okay, here we go. Again, here is our pod file and our pods inside it, TinyConstraints. Great. Let's go to our home view controller, and right off the bat, let us just import TinyConstraints. Then we won't need UIKit because TinyConstraints already has it, I believe. And first of all, let's take a look what we are going to build out. Okay, let's select our Finder here and take a look at this image. Okay. Now, I want to build out this header in this video. So first of all, I will need to add this, let's call it a header image. So let's create our header image here. So I will use a let and header image view, and it will be a UI image view. Okay, and let's initialize that and type in here let image view equals UI image view, and let's return this image view. And for now, let's add for our image views background colors, let it be equals of red. Great. Now, what we want to do here is, oh, I added a space, is, let's say, set up views, because I don't want to clutter the view did load. So I will create a setup views file private function here, and here I will add this header view to the view. So view, add subview, header image view. Great. And next, what I want to do is anchor it, and I want to make it like so. I want to anchor it to the top, to the edges, the left, right, or the leading, trailing edges, and not to the bottom. So here how it goes in TinyConstraints. So header image view and edges to superview. I believe there we go, edges to superview, and here is something called excluding. Okay, excluding, and I want to exclude the bottom layout edge. Insets, we are going to add insets in just a moment, so I will not use insets for now. And using safe area, let's set it to true, because why not? We are using the new version of iPhones anyway, so that should be that. Okay, now one last thing we need to add here is the height of our image view. And let me just set the height up here. So let header image view height, it should be a CG float, and let's say 1200 should be okay by now. We will tweak this to our liking. So let's just scroll down and set the header image view's height, and here we go, it's a constraint to the header image view height. Now this should work okay, so let's just select our iPhone XR here, and or iPhone XR, whatever you would like to call it, and build and run it and see what we have got here. So that is that, and I believe that this is much too large for our image here. So let's set it only to 100. Okay, there we go, 100, and let's build and run again. Let's see the result, much better, and I believe that is it. Now we want to add our actual image of the header, so let's drag and drop our assets here. So let me just close this off, and let's add all of our images inside our assets folder. Great, and this will be called, yeah, it's a long name, but hey, I will just simply copy it out, or maybe use the library. Let me just go back to our home view controller, and instead of our background, we are going to set the image to be our, let's see, image literal. Just type in image literal, and I believe we should be able, if I double click on it, yes, we have that available. Great. Now, another thing that we should add right off the bat, and before we do that, so you may understand why we add this content mode that we are going to add, let me just show you how it plays out now. It is really not that nice of look here. So let us just add here our content mode. So image view dot content mode and scale dot scale aspect fill. Scale aspect fill. There we go. It is scale aspect fill. Let me just build and run that again and see what we have got. Okay, and finally, yeah, there we go. Not so bad, but we want to make, rather yet, yes, that is perfectly fine. What we want to do now is, let me just show you the image, what we want to achieve is basically this one. And as you can see, this Rebeloper logo and the text is much larger. So what we are going to do now is basically set the insets of our view to be negative. Okay, so let's just scroll all the way down and let's add some insets here. So insets, and I will add a top inset, maybe not the top inset because at the top is just fine. Let me just clear that. Let's say leading inset, left inset, and let's say our CG float, let's say 300. That should do it. And let's add another inset to our right view. So left, right. Where is our completion? I believe this should work. Oh, we need a comma here. Great. Now let's build and run again, and hopefully we should see that this is shrinking the image right there. Great. And left, right. Great. Now what we want to do is make this negative. So we are not shrinking, but we are making this even larger. So let's see what happens there. Great. It's a little bit too much, so I will add here 250 and 250. Let's build and run again, and this should be relatively fine. Now, what else do we need? Yeah, I am pretty confident that this will work. Maybe 230, so that is the last tweak that I am going to make here. Okay, now let's go back to our image here. We want to cover the bottom of this image. So what we are going to add from now on is, let's say, container that will hold all of the views down below. So let's create a container view now. And let's return this view. Great. Now let's add this view's background color. View.background colors equals, and it will be a UI color, and we will use this red, green, blue, and alpha value. And for that, we would need to open this up, in our Photoshop. So let's right click on that, open with Adobe Photoshop, and let's select our color here. There we go. It is red, green, and blue, 33, 33 for all. Great. So let's add this to our Xcode project. So 33 divided by 255, 33 divided 255, again 33 divided by 255, and the alpha value should be 1.0. Okay, now maybe we are going to use this later on, maybe we are not. If we do that, we are going to edit this as a separate constant. Okay, but for now, this is okay. Now let's add our container view. So view dot contain add subview and container view. Okay, now what we want to do is actually set this container view to be, let's say, from the top, from 300 pixels or something like that. So first of all, we are going to type in here container view top and to superview, and we are not going to use this anchor, we are going to use this offset. And the offset, for now, let's set it to 300 or rather yet 200. We will see. Relationship and priority and is active can be ignored for now, and using safe area like a safe area should be true. Now we need to do this for the leading, trailing, and the bottom anchors. So container view dot left to superview, yes, leading to superview or left to superview, that is okay. Container view right to superview and container view bottom to superview. Well, that is just perfectly fine. And how fast was that? Okay, maybe we should add this using safe area, but hey, there we go. I believe this 200 is much too large of a number, so let's add in here 100. And that is again too little, 150. There we go. That looks fairly nice. Okay, maybe it doesn't really look the same as we have it on our default here. So let me just show you. Oh, sorry about that. It is much larger, so maybe we need to tweak the insets again and have this to be like so. So 100 should be there, and the insets should be, let's say, maybe 130 and 130. Let's build and run and see how that looks. Okay, much better. So I will use this 100 and create a header image view height. Oh yeah, here it is, the header image view height. I just forgot what I did, so let's paste that in there. Now next up, what we want to do is add our profile image view. So let's just simply copy this one and paste it down below and make the changes. So profile image view, scale, aspect, fill, and the image should be, let me just double click here, my profile image. Okay, now let's anchor it. And where do we want to anchor it? Again, let me just go here. We want to add it some sort of, let's say, 15 pixels to the left, and the height should be, let's say, 60 or 70, and the width again 60 or 70. And we want to center it at this line where the container view starts. So how do we calculate that? Well, it is pretty simple. First of all, we need to set a constant here, and I will have these constants right here. Let profile image view height, and again it will be a CG float, and let's say this should be 60 or something like that. It doesn't really matter, we will tweak that later on. So we will take this profile image view height and the header image view height and calculate where we want to add this profile image view. First of all, let's add it to our view dot add subview, and again we could add this to our view and we could add this to our container view, but we would let's choose our container view. So container view dot add subview and profile image view. Great. Now that we have that, let's anchor it. And where should we anchor it? Again, now it is anchored, its superview is the container view. First of all, let's anchor it to, let's say, profile image view. Let me scroll all the way up. Top to superview, not the top to superview, but top to, and we are going to choose the container view. Anchor can be omitted now, and the offset again is the half of the height of our profile image view. So profile image view divided by 2, and of course this should be in a minus. Okay, relationship and priority and is active can be omitted for now. That is for the top. Now let's set the profile image views left 2, or left 2, and the constrainable, again we should have an offset, so left 2, there we go, container view, and the anchor should be omitted, offset, let's say 60 for now. 60. We will see what is there, and the other stuff can be omitted. Okay, that's it. Profile image view height. Again, sorry for that typo there. And now one last thing that we should do is set the width and the height of our profile image view. So profile image view dot width, and it should be again the profile image view height and the profile image view height should be our profile image view height. Pretty straightforward. So let's run this and see what actually happens here. Okay, there we go. It is a little bit too small for my taste, but the offset is quite right. So let's just scroll up here. Let's say change this to 80. Okay, let's build and run again, and let us just create our rounded corners because we want to have it inside a circle. It looks much better. Okay, now what we have to do is set the corner radius of our image view, corner image use layer. So we need to access the layer property and corner radius, and this should be half of our profile image use height. Profile. Oh, this needs to be then a lazy var because we want to access our profile image view height. So profile image view height divided by 2. And one last thing, we need to set the layer masks to bounds equals to true. Okay, let's build and run and see our rounded image. There we go, it is shaping it up quite well. Let's take a look at what we need to achieve, and it is looking pretty well. Next up, we want to add this, let's say, our channel title label, Rebeloper, Rebel Developer, and it should be constrained to this cog. So first of all, we are going to add this cog as a button. So let's do that. Let's create our button. Let cog button, UI button. There we go. Let button equals UI button, and let's return this button. Great. Now we want to set the title of our button set image, and we want to set an image literal here. And let's double click on that and select our cog, and yeah, we want to have this with rendering mode and always original because the colors are okay and the control state is normal. Great. And maybe we want to add an action, a target here, but I won't bother with that for now. So let's add our cog button, and let's see here. Let's take a look at how it is added. So basically it should be added below our profile image view and with some insets. Okay, so let me just go here and cog button, and the top should constrain to our constrainable, and it is a profile image view with an offset. And let's just try for the offset 16 again, and the relation priority and is active should be omitted because they are set to their default values. Okay, cog button, let's say to our right to, let's say, our container view. Again, let's set an offset, and all of the other parts should be deleted. The offset, let's say 32. Okay, and finally we need to set the width and the height of our cog. So cog button dot width, and let's create a constant right up here. Let cog button height CG float, and let's set this to 44. Okay, cog button height, I will just copy this out, and let's just scroll all the way down and add it there. And again, let's set the cog button's height to be this cog button height that we have just created. So I believe we have added our cog button. No, we didn't. So let's add our cog button to our container view, add subview, cog button. I always forget adding these views, but hey, it gets an error, and you will see that it isn't added there. So let's see if we did get that right. Well, we didn't. So let's see why. Okay, Yes, not for the profile image view, we should add it to our container view. And the offset again should be 16, container view. Let's see how it goes now. Much better. Now the offset, let's add this to -32, and I believe we are ready with the debugging of this button. Great. It looks fairly nice. One thing I should point out that we should make this cog button a little bit smaller. So let's set this to, let's say, 38. Great. Now we are approaching the end of this video, so we should add these two labels. So first of all, our channel title label. Okay, so let's create it. Let channel title label. It will be a UI label. Let label equals UI label. Okay, let's scroll all the way up. Then let's return our label. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now let's add some text to our label, and that is Rebeloper Rebel developer. Okay, and now let's create, first of all, let's build and let's add it to our view, and we will tweak the font size later on. So first of all, let's add this to our container view. Container view, add subview and channel title label. Great. Now let's constrain it. Okay, let's take a look at what we want to achieve. First of all, maybe we want to constrain it to our profile image view's right anchor and to our cog's left anchor. Okay, and of course the top should be constrained to our, let's say, to our container's top anchor, but according to our profile image view's height. Okay, so that's quite a lot. Let's start with the height, with the top anchor. So channel title label top 2, and the constraint label should be our container view, and let's calculate our offset. So the offset should be our profile image view height divided by 2, and let's add in, let's say, 8 to that. Okay, and the relationship and so on, and those can be omitted. So next up, let's set our left anchor. So channel title label left to right of our the constrainable, and that is left to right of our, let's say, profile image view with an offset of -12, and we should delete all of these. And let's set our right anchor right to left of our cog button with an offset, let's say 8. And let's delete all of these. And I believe we are ready. We should see our channel title label. Let's build and run and see what we got. Again, left to right of our profile image view. And we don't have anything. Maybe we should have our font set up right now. Label, or rather yet, let us just create our background color first, and we should see what we have here. Okay, it should be white. Now we can see if we have anchored it correctly. There we go. It is looking fine, but I can see that under the cog, and that is why we need to set the offset to be -8. Okay, let's build and run again and see what we got here. Pretty great. Okay, maybe the cog will need to come down a little bit. Let's take a look here. Yeah, the cog needs to go all the way down. So, and it should be a little bit smaller. Okay, let me just go with the cog. Let's wait. 28. The top should be, let's say, profile image view height divided by 2. And let's add here 8, and all of this in a minus. Okay, let's add those parentheses there and minus. Let's build and run again and see if we do have that right. Nope, not in minus. Okay, just a quick fix here. Yes, because it's from the top. Okay, not from the bottom. Let's build and run again. Okay, now we should take care of our font. There we go, it looks pretty amazing. Let's delete this background color of white, and let's set the text color to be white. And oh, sorry, it's auto completion. And let's set the label font to be, let's say, UI font, and we will use, I believe it's a bold system font. Let's see if it is. Yes, it is a bold system font. Bold system font of size. Let's start with 18, and let's see what we got and take it from there. It's a little smaller than I would like to, so let's make this 24. Let's build and run. And in the meantime, let's take a look at the last that we need to do is the count of our subscribers. Okay, let's take a look at here. Maybe we should stick with 22, and that should be okay. Now let's create, and I would just simply copy and paste this title label property, and channel title label, channel subscribers count label, and let me just see what it actually writes there. It's the number and the actual subscribers. 2149. Okay, let me just add it in here. Of course, if you have this as a working app, this is not the way to do it. You should have an integer and you should add it dynamically. But now we are going to add it here. Subscribers. Okay, the text color, let's add it to gray or dark gray. We will see it. And the font should be a system font of size. Let's try 16 here, maybe 18, but 16 should be fine. And let's add this capitalized. Okay, now let me just add this to our container view. Container view, add subview, and channel subscribers count label. And there we go. And what I want to do is channel subscribers count label top 2, and I will stop it to our channel title label, to the bottom of our channel label. So let me just type in here top 2 bottom of our channel title label, and the offset, well, it should be 8 or something like that. We will see if that is okay with us. Okay, now let's anchor our channel subscribers count label left anchor to the left, and here we go, our channel title label. I believe that should work. If not, then we will change this. Okay, offset should be nothing, 0, 0, 0. Okay, we will delete all of these. And now let's add our channel subscriber count label right to the left of cog button. Okay, and offset should be, or rather yet, let me see if this works. Left and right to, and channel title label, I believe this should work, but hey, let's see if indeed it does work. So let's build and run and see finally our channel subscribers count label. There we go, we have added. Maybe the offset is a little bit large, so let's add in here 6, and let's take a look at our example. Maybe we should have a light gray here. And that is going to wrap it up for today. Let me just add here a light gray. Let's build that up. So that is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. It was a larger video, but hey, we have added a lot of things with the help of TinyConstraints. Now go ahead, like this video if you did like the tutorial, and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Now it is your turn. Go ahead and download the resources and do the same thing. Try to build out your YouTube channel's home page, and we are going to take a look at some other elements of this homepage in the next video, so I will see you in the next one.